What's up, everybody? Welcome to a Monday edition of the Ysn Power Hour. DJ Yoakley with you. Appreciate you joining us here today. Make some adjustments to my microphone here. I think I'd do this before the show, but I always come in and I'm fiddling with this microphone. We got a great show for you, all about what happened this past weekend. Everybody wants to talk football. Everybody wants to talk power rankings because those came out right before midnight last night. And of course, everybody wants to talk about who are going to be the big dogs of the Valley. Well, I have some context clues for you. I've got some hints that we're going to drop because those officially will come through tonight at about midnight. We will have the open up the big dogs of the Valley once again, and the floodgates will open up. The people will come and exercise their right to vote as many times as they would like right here on ysnlive.com. Again, my name is DJ Yoakley. For those of you who don't know me, this is the YSN Power Hour brought to you by the Toyota of Warren Group. And I want to say thank you to them, Tino and the crew, just making sure that you can get in the best vehicle possible for the best price possible with the best service possible. If you're looking for your next Toyota, make sure that you're heading out to our friends at a Toyota of Warren, official vehicle of YSN. And I'll tell you what, come check out the Tundra. That thing is awesome. It gets looks everywhere it goes. Everybody's excited, waving, beeping, all that stuff. But I got to tell you, I've been getting some different beeps today after the power rankings went out. Social media has exploded with absolute chaos about these power rankings. We're going to explain it to you how it goes into it, because a lot of people think that these are opinion based. They used to be. You're living in the past if you think these are all opinion based anymore. These are all science. It's all science. It's all points. And it's about who your teams play. And we line them up from there. And it's very similar. In fact, it's the exact same thing as Joe Idol has. And I'm sure he takes some grief for what he does. But there's science behind what we do. Like, we're not just picking our favorite teams and pulling them out of a hat. There's science. We understand. We'll get to more of that in just a minute. I do want to go over some scores from Friday. I know if you've been living under a rock and you haven't been able to check out these awesome stories on ysnlive.com, these recaps from the games, check out the scoreboard. Brought to you by Burnett Pools, Spas, and Hot Tubs. We got it all. Visit them on the web at burnettpools.com. Go to the YSN scoreboard page, ysnlive.com/scores. Leading things off, I mean, look, Fitch looked good. Deshaun Vaughn came back with a vengeance off of that injury, and Fitch blows out Euclid at Euclid 40-6. Now, Euclid, those were some big boys. If you watched that game, you saw there was a big size to the Euclid Panthers that could not be denied. But Fitch not only stood tall, stood taller, and they were bigger, they were faster, they were stronger that night. And Coach Parker with an exclamation point on week one openers. He beats his opponent 40-6 alongside of his troops. So congratulations to Fitch. And listen, they've got their hands full again this week. That's a big schedule. We got a lot of tough teams playing some tough schedules this year, and Fitch is no exception to that rule. East Palestine comes up short on the comeback trail. I believe the running clock was going at one point. It at least looked like they were going to get mercied, and all of a sudden they start cruising back. And I like a heat-seeking missile for the scoreboard. Bulldogs look a lot different than they did last year. Owen Uriachi still the main key component to that, but he's got some tools. He's got Lip. He's got RJ May, who's a freshman this year, who's going to be a playmaker for East Palestine. And he's got some guys that are figuring some things out up front. So if EP can get that defense locked in, you're going to see a few wins from the Bulldogs this year. But Newton Falls look just as good. They look just as good, and they're growing as well. Two teams that are desperately seeking growth in their programs. And obviously not the outcome that East Palestine wanted, but one that is certainly on the right direction. I mean, you're talking years of getting blanked, and taking that, and you put up 34 points in any game means that you're doing something right. So, good game for Newton Falls as they beat East Palestine 48-34. Going down the old docket here, Girard putting a hurting on Jefferson 42-21, a final score there. An old NE8 rivalry with those two. Again, I don't expect Jefferson to be a bad team at all. I don't even expect them to be an average team. I expect them to be an above average team and do some things here as we get closer to week 10 and into the playoffs. So I know we're only in week 1, but there's some teams here that are some. I don't want to say it's fool's gold, but you might be sleeping on them after week 1. And I think Jefferson, there's a lot of people that are saying, "Oh, here we go again." Brandon Hanna ain't gonna let that happen. But Pat Pearson and his squad put on a show, and it's a 42-21 victory. Girard going to 1-0 on the year over Jefferson. The thriller in Manila, it was Columbiana and Lowville, man. What a game those two had. Lowville decides to go for 2 in overtime and gets the win, and it was like a ping pong ball, or a pinball rather, that was bouncing around, caught in the end zone for the 2-point conversion, and then they walked it off. Tough loss for Coach Spate and Columbiana. Very tough loss because they were getting after it. This is a Columbiana team that I think is going to be better than most people think. And taking on Lowville first week, man, that was a challenge. And there's a lot of people that are down on Lowville because they don't have Vinny Balone. They got Mikey Balone, and this kid is going to be very, very good. So keep your eyes peeled on that. And they've got some key receivers. Hint, hint, hint. They have some key receivers that are going to make some names for themselves in the short term as well as in the long term. South Range and Springfield. Oh, man. All right. Where do we start with this one? First off, I'm going to start with this. Springfield might not lose a game the rest of the season. I think they're going to be challenged with Brookfield, and they could potentially end up on the wrong end of the scoreboard there. I don't think Springfield loses less than I should say it. I don't think they win less than 7 games. 8 games. 7 or 8 games. I'm gonna go 8-2 for Springfield. 9-1. 9-1 if they get past Brookfield is where I'm gonna go. And I've said that from the jump. Nobody knew what to expect from South Range. Nobody, including myself, someone who's pretty brushed up and pretty close to the ground at South Range. Nobody really understood what they had until they got some live action, right? And scrimmages don't count. That stuff, it's still pretend, right? There's value in it, but it's still pretend. There's quick whistles. You can't hit the quarterback, all of that stuff. Wow. I mean, can anybody else sum it up any better than what South Range did and just say, wow? As someone who's a pretty big follower of the Raiders, I sat over there in that studio and I just went, wow. Because as good as Springfield is projected to be, what does that say about the Raiders again, ladies and gentlemen? This whole time, and let's throw Canfield in that same boat, right? This whole time we've been talking about what they don't have. They don't have 20 seniors. They don't have their starting quarterback. They don't have the offensive line. They don't have this. They don't have that. They lack things. They have a new coach. We've built in every excuse for South Range in the book. We've closed the book on them, and we've already said, okay, we'll come back to you in a year, and we put you on the shelf. This group of Raiders said, hold on there, sweetheart. We're coming for another one. We're coming for that NE8 title. We're coming for that district, regional, and state title. We're coming for it. Because why not? Everybody's counting us out. There's no better chance for these young men to grow quickly than to make a nice little run. Everybody thinks the NE8, it belongs to Poland and Struthers and Girard. You're defending undisputed champion of the NE8. South Range, nobody has the feather in their cap. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. And I think they put the entire area on watch. And not only that, but there's a lot of watch and see what this week brings because they're playing green. They're opening up Rominger Stadium, right? The renovations to their brand new stadium. Their I don't know, expansion, I guess you'd call it. There's going to be a lot of people there. If South Range beats Green, there's going to be a lot of eyebrows raised about, is this another state championship caliber team? And people will say no, and they'll say, they don't have it, they don't have this, they don't have that. And again, build in those excuses. But what I've learned in the 7 years that we've been doing this is you don't count out the Raiders. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. All right, more scores for you. Again, 41-14 final, South Range over Springfield. Struthers with a great game against Beaver Local. I thought Beaver Local had it nearly going. I'm not going to lie to you. I thought for certain Beaver Local, and call it what you will, I was going to call it an upset because you're hearing a lot of chatter about Struthers. And Struthers just exploded onto that scene. They took over. Jason Dukes is the real deal. They've got some dudes on that team that are really good and that are going to be exciting to watch all year on YSN. Struthers gets the win 37-20. Don't count out the Beavers. They're going to have a nice, exciting year as well, but they start off on the wrong side of the bed in week one. Garrettsville Garfield all over Cardinal, 42-0. That's a final score. I talked to Jim Flieger briefly over the weekend via text, and I said, I cannot believe Keegan Sell is still in pads. I can't believe he's still part of Garrettsville. Feels like Keegan's been going to high school for 7-8 years. He's one of those kids, right? He's been so impactful for so long that it's hard to believe he's still in school. And he's a senior this year, and he made his impact quickly with a 42-0 win. Garfield gets the dub. Going to the second tier. Listen, you got Mooney with a big win over Mentor Lake Catholic, 29-26. Ashton O'Brien is what Ashton O'Brien is. He is an outstanding quarterback, sees the field well, and he's now, I think, a better leader this year from what they've had to go through in years prior than he ever could have imagined. And a lot of that, to Carl Polini, Rick Shepis, and some leaders that they have on that team, AOB is A-OK, and he's going to be a lot better than that this year. So keep your eye on Mooney as they get their first win of the season, 29-26 over Mentor Lake Catholic. We got a 22-14 victory, Lakeside over East Lake North Dragons. Getting off on the right side of things, and congratulations to them, and welcome again to the YSN family. Lakeview all over LeBray, 41-14. I told you not to sleep on Lakeview. They're part of that NE8. The NE8 as a whole went 1-0 across the board. I'm pretty sure that's an accurate stat. We'll have to do a quick look over to the standings page. But 41-14 final score, Lakeview over LeBray. We got East Liverpool. The Paul Cusick era has begun, ladies and gentlemen, and he does it as only Paul Cusick can do it with a fireworks show live from the from Potter Field there, and it's a 50-0 win over Minerva. Is it good enough to get them in the power rankings? You'll have to wait and see. McDonald with a big win over Southern. Two teams that I love watching play. I love watching these two teams play each other. It is hard-nosed football. It's run the football 4 yards in a cloud of dust, something that Coach Butchie would love, something that Youngstown area football fans love and adore, and McDonald gets the win by a slim margin, 25-22 over the Indians. Congratulations on a great game, both sides. Here's one that I had my eye on all night. I'm not going to lie to you. Wanted to see the new era with Don Perry at Crestview, and I wanted to see how Andy Hake and the Valley Christian and Eagles responded after losing guys like John Terrell Mixon, right? Losing JP, their quarterback, losing who else they lose? They lost Gurley. So you never know. But watching this one unfold, I've been talking up this young man named Ja'Shawn Lindsay. I've been talking him up all off season. I've been talking him up all preseason. And the season hits and the kid runs for 200 plus yards, 2 touchdowns. And everybody's looking at me like, is that the guy you've been talking to? Yeah, that's the dude. He's the dude. He's going to break records this year, folks. He is going, and he's only a junior. He is going to quite, how do I say it? He's quite possibly going to break the single season rush record in the state as a junior. And he's got another year coming back. I would not put it past him. I would not put it past him. I think he's that good. I really do. I think he's that talented to be able to get it done. And he started with Crestview, 30-12 victory for Valley Christian over the Rebels. Malvern with a 26-7 win over Western Reserve. Not ideal, but they get those reps that they needed as a young team in Western Reserve. Got to be able to get that, right? You got to take a few of those punches and learn to play defense before you can play a little bit of offense. John Armini's got them, I think, on the right track down there, just on the wrong side of the scoreboard on Friday. Leetonia, tough loss for them. They got beat by Fairport Harding, 47-6, the final score there. They take on Waterloo this week. I think Chris Sigler's going to do that game. So that's going to be another nice test for them, and obviously Waterloo as well. Garfield Heights Trinity, 38, Ashtabula St. John, 6. Sam had that call, and it did not go the way of the Heralds. So they're still trying to push things together and figure things out. And it could be a tough season for the Heralds, but they're going to give it their go. And trust me, that white flag is never going to fly. Edgewood, this was a surprise for me, not because I think Edgewood by any means is down, but I think Liberty, this is going to be a game that we look back on in a few weeks and we go, did Liberty seriously lose by 38 points? Edgewood wins 58-20 on Friday night. I'm still high on Liberty. I really am. I know that it doesn't look good on the scoreboard, but Sam told you on Friday, Edgewood's that good. Edgewood is edge good, and they showed it. Almost 60 burger on Liberty, who is a very good team. Don't count Liberty out this year, though, folks. Do not do it. The impressive game of the night. This was one that stuck with me all weekend. As we'll go to Anthony's comment here real quick. Anthony says, I was in school at South Range during the down years, and they were still winning 7 games a season. Winning culture never stops, never disappears. Yeah, 100% accurate. I was getting to this. This was not the surprise of the week. This was the emphatic, like, oh boy, Houston, we have a problem game of the week for me. Poland 38, Salem 6. And I don't know how to read this fortune cookie, folks. I don't know how to go with this one. Because one side tells me that Poland's really good, scoring 38 points, and I'm pretty sure they could have put more into the end zone. The other side's telling me Salem could be in for a long year. This could be a really tough year for Salem, and every school goes through it. I mean, you're talking about a quarterback that you lost, that broke records, that ran the entire offense. You know, I'm sure he was calling plays. I'm sure he was, looking at the wristband and doing all that stuff, and he was pulling things out of you-know-what. Jackson Johnson was a dude. And when you lose any type of millennial player like that, like a guy that you only see every 1,000 years, because it's the truth. Because usually a quarterback like that, you're protecting. And there he was on the other side of the football. And that's a pretty big school. That's a D4 school. So I don't know how to read this one. I want to say that Poland's just that good. That's where my heart wants to go, right? And I really think they are good. They are sizable. They are some big fellas. But I know Salem they're battling some adversity right now. They've got some guys that aren't on the field because of injury. They've got some guys that they're going to be playing a lot of their first time snaps. How quickly can Salem grow into being the Quakers that we're accustomed to seeing? That's the question. Getting the running game going, being able to spread everybody out and utilize a mobile quarterback the way they have the last 3-4 years. That's going to be the question. Can Salem return to that this year, and how quickly can they return to that if it's not? That's going to be a question that surrounds the Quakers all year long. But Poland, I'd err on the side of saying Poland's pretty good. Pretty good. Camel Memorial, 30-0 victory over St. Thomas Aquinas. A big win for the Red Devils. I know that they were all amped up last week talking about what could be this season, and I'm starting to believe it. I'm starting to feel like this is a different group of guys at Camel, and be on the lookout. It's going to be exciting, and I'm sure Steve Leslie's going to have a great time talking to them on Wednesday night when he talks to the Camel Memorial Show over at Tavern 26. So I'm excited to hear their breakdown of that game. It'll be cool. United with a big win over Waterloo, 41-6. The Eagles doing what the Eagles do, man. They beat you in all facets of the game. Offense, defense, special teams. One of those things that when you look at a DJ Ogilvy-led team, it starts with the quarterback. You got to have a quarterback that can make good reads, make smart decisions, and then it boils back to defense, right? And to add special teams onto that with Luke Courtney being the quarterback and a kicker that's kicking the ball to the moon on extra points, I'm telling you, United's going to be dangerous. They're going to be dangerous. And unfortunately, we won't see them this week because they're going to East Canton, and they have a contract in effect that it's $200 per game to broadcast the teams that come in and do that. So we don't negotiate with terrorists, I guess is the best way to put it when it comes to that stuff. So unfortunately, United fans, you're going to have to drive out there this week to East Canton and take that one in on your own. Boardman comes up short against Kenston, 50-13. It'll be an interesting conversation with Coach Doda tonight, and talking to him about what he saw, what things that this Spartan team, which is pretty young for the most part, what things they can do to grow their program, not only by the end of the year, but week to week. And I'm excited to hear what Coach Doda has to say about that, because more than anything, Coach DJ's a leader of men. He's a great leader, and he knows at the end of the day, he's building men and decision makers and leaders of families and leaders of communities. And no scoreboard's ever going to tell you that you're on the right side or wrong side of that one. So, Orange, listen. Hang on. All right, I feel like Napoleon Dynamite every time I drink Gatorade on the air. Like he does that, like right, goes right to it. Mikey says, "Love this show." Well, love you too, buddy. It was good having you on Friday. Appreciate you. All right, Orange with the huge W, 49-0. So let's break this one down. Orange was on an 18-game losing streak. 18 games. That's over the course of 2 years. So 1 year they went 2-8. The next year they went 0-10. And here they are, fast forward 2023. They play their arch rival in Beechwood, going to Beechwood, and Coach Rob Senor opens up a can on Beechwood, right? And it was fulfilling. It had to be for him. I texted him. I said, "Congratulations. We're incredibly proud of you." First comment back, "I'm just so happy for these guys. I'm so happy for this team." That's what you want in a leader. Not thanks. It's, I worked really hard. No, it's I'm happy for these guys. They deserve it. That's the kind of coach Rob Senior is. You got a good one out there, Orange. You got a great one. You got a guy that cares about your kids, a guy that gets them fired up, and a guy that promised that the culture is going to change. The helmets changed from black to orange, and the culture changed from just being okay going into games to going in there and wanting to walk out victorious. Orange with a big W. I don't know that I can underemphasize that at all or overemphasize it enough. That is a huge win for Orange. And what that does the rest of the season remains to be seen. But I like the way this is headed for these guys. I like the way you always, when you're rooting for the underdog, and I hate the feel good stories, right? It's not a Disney movie. Some of these kids have never had a victory in high school. They're freshmen. They go, well, maybe they do. Maybe they're sophomores this year, right? The sophomores, this is their first victory. Now we've never had a winning season. These juniors have never had a winning season. Put it together. Get 6 wins. Maybe you get in the playoffs. There's another first, right? For these kids. That's how it starts. It's a snowball. You roll it down the hill, it gets really big, and all of a sudden nobody wants to touch you. So congratulations to Orange. Super proud of you. Jimmy Powers says, let's go. Jimmy, saw you got a new show. Congratulations on that. Doing great things out in the Midwest, St. Louis area. So congratulations to you. Other scores we have. Hubbard, what a barn burner. What an absolute barn burner. You've got 10-6. Hubbard over East, and probably I'd say, if not 1A, certainly one. I think the game of the night goes to Columbian and Louisville. If you're a Hubbard fan, sorry to break that for you, but this is certainly 1A. Hubbard wins 10-6. Jamie had a great call out there with Zach. Appreciate you guys for being out there and showcasing just excitement for both sides. Lisbon, big win on the road over Wyndham, 41-6. A 5 touchdown. I'm going to make sure I get this kid's name right because I always call him the wrong name. I think he's only a sophomore. But we had a 5 touchdown performance that may or may not be visible later tonight. Hint, hint. Yes, Ashton Hinchcliffe had 160 yards on 11 carries and 5 touchdowns, a school record. Incredible. And when you're looking to turn things around at Lisbon and try to again, I'm going to use the C word again, culture, raise a culture, it starts with a guy like Hinchcliffe, because hardworking young man, kid that wants to get out there and bust his tail and make this program better. And it's got to make the offensive line feel pretty good knowing that your guy ran for 160 yards on 11 carries. You're ripping off big chunks of yards every time that you're toting the rock, and that's a big thing for Lisbon right there. So a 41-6 win for David Anderson High School, aka the Lisbon Blue Devils, over Wyndham, and they moved to 1-0 on the season. Mineral Ridge pulls out a big win, 29-22 over Pymatuning Valley, PV, and a battle of, I got to listen to our call, and there was another call from another station that crept up on my timeline, and I listened to. This was a great game. This was a really good game. Came down to the last minute, and Ridge steals one away from the Lakers by the score of 29-22. They start 1-0 on the season. Wellsville, tough game for them. I know we were talking to Gary Altizer on Friday. He's never going to pick against the Tigers. There's a spoiler alert, because that dude believes in that town more than anybody I've ever met in my life. And that's saying something, because they bleed black and orange down in Wellsville. And Gary Altizer just injects it into his veins, how much he bleeds for that town. Obviously, he's so invested, both from his personal and professional life. And it's great to see. They come up on the short end of the stick to Steubenville Central Catholic, which should be pretty good. 37-6, the final in that one. Another thriller for a while there was Canfield and West Branch. Canfield gets a 38-19 win over the Warriors. I mean, Danny Inglis. What else do you need to know? Bendis was amazing. You look at this was a game, and I was talking to Mike Pavlansky about this. This was a game last year that featured two of the best quarterbacks of the area, right? You had DeShields on one side, and you had Brock Lowry on the other. Both of them graduate, and people are sitting there looking at this game like there's no attraction. Like there's nobody to watch in this game, and it didn't bother me. It just confused me more than anything because you've got the next generation of Cardinals who are still hungry for a championship. Is the road going to be heavy? Is it going to be tough? Yes, it is. But these guys are going to march, and Danny Inglis, the old 1-1, he's going to be all right. Iowa State commit. Then you look on the other side. I mean, you got guys, you got dudes. I'm slowly but surely falling in love and infatuated over Bo Alazos, because I think he's the next generation. I mean, this kid can do a lot of things with his arm, with his legs. He is a big presence, and I think this kid could be very, very good in a short amount of time. But when you're going up against the defending state champions, you got to bring it. And I think West Branch threw their best punch that they could. Canfield absorbed it, and they just overpowered them. That's what it came down to. So a good fight by both teams, and Canfield comes out the victor 38-19. Congratulations to them. Brookfield, short end of the stick against Norway, 59-7. Tough break for the Warriors on week one. So that's your roundup of the scores from Friday, August 18th, 2023. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, here come the power rankings, ladies and gentlemen. We got a lot to talk about and a lot to break down. When we come back on the YSN Power Hour, brought to you by Toyota of Warren, as always.
We believe expectations are made to be exceeded. At the new Toyota of Warren, it's about more than just getting a great deal. It's about service you can count on and a friendship you can trust. Year after year, we've done what we do best. We've gone the extra mile so you could too. Because we know it's just not about buying a new car. It's the start of a new adventure. Toyota of Warren, driven by you.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the four words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
Hi, this is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions.
WRS Insurance Solutions is a local, independent agency that specializes in life, Medicare, long-term care, and disability products. Call us at 330-953-3722 or visit us at wrsinsuranceSolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
The feeling when my hands are on the piano, it's become comforting. It's somewhere that I can express myself. I go to Youngstown State University and my passion is playing music. YSU is allowing me to take what I love and turn it into a career and do it every single day of my life. I'm Alyssa and I'm YN proud.
My guy keeps it 100% of the time. He wants all 100, won't settle for 99. And it's more than stats, because there's people in those numbers. And I was one of the lost sheep. I'm so glad he cares for all 100. I'm 100% safe, 100% free, 100% love. I can be 100% me. He gave all 100 when they put him up on that tree. That's 100% passion for 100% free. So if I play in front of 100, Or if I play in front of two, there's an audience of one getting 100% of what I can do.
And welcome back to the YSN Power Hour, brought to you by Toyota of Warren. DJ with you. Appreciate you hanging out for the 60-minute love letter we like to talk about with local sports in mind. All right, we got to have that talk again, folks. We got to have that talk. Like never before, like it never happened the first time. Like we haven't been doing power rankings for like 3 years. We got to have that chat. These power rankings, right now, we've evolved. You didn't like 10, you didn't like 5, you didn't like 12. You wanted 25 teams. So we're giving you 25 teams. We're giving you more teams to talk about. Listen, I'm not taking any of this personally because it's not a personal thing, right? I didn't like power rankings at first. I hated them. In fact, I yelled and screamed at the top of my lungs for people to not talk about ranking teams because I want everybody to play nice in the sandbox. However, there were so many people and so many different angles of who's the best and how are they the best. And, you know, when you run a business, it's tough to make changes because when you find something that works, you don't want to rock the boat too much, right? Everybody likes to be told how pretty their baby is. Nobody wants to hear about their baby being ugly. Well, listen, when you're an entrepreneur, when you're starting a business, and when you want the best, when you have the best interest in mind, and the intent is there for student athletes, coaches, and communities, and it's based around sports, you can't get there and build excitement if you don't have a power rankings, right? But what we quickly learned last year was you can't just have an opinion. There's got to be fact. And there was a lot of guys in our group text that were talking about this team needs to be on the power rankings. This team needs to be on the power rankings. I mean, they finished like 3-7, right? They can be on the rankings, but it's not the power rankings. And that was kind of our general response. So what we did was, I believe it was halfway through the season, we drew up a game plan of making this a science, right? So we've worked a lot, especially in the smaller sports, not football, not basketball per se, but in the volleyballs, the baseballs, softballs, things of that nature, on this power ranking point system, right? And a lot of it, and I'll be completely honest, it's basically a ripoff of Joe Idol, right? It's basically a tribute, a tip of the cap to a guy that's been doing it for a long time that a lot of people look at as the godfather of ranking teams. So much so that the so much so that the OHSAA entrusts this Joe Idol to do this. So it's borderline comical and really entertaining for me to read comments when we put out these power rankings, and they're not based on just throwing the spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. They're based on points. They're based on values, algorithms, science, numbers, calculations. I've got my favorite teams too, right? I have teams that I follow very closely. And if you know me or if you watch this show a lot, you know exactly who those teams or team is. But what I can tell you is I'm not freaking out because after 1 week, a team is number one or a team is not on the list. There's a lot of people that are putting a lot of emphasis on this. And, you know, more so, I'm confused about where people have been when they're asking me why Akron Hoban is on that list and why Archbishop Hoban's on that list and why Orange is on this list. Why are we talking about these teams? Because they're part of our YSN family. That's why. Archbishop Hoban signed. We had a whole thing about it, right? They want to be part of our YSN family, and we're happy to have him here, as we are every single school. Tim Porter, who used to be an AD at Mineral Ridge, loved what we did when he was at Ridge, and said, hey, I want this for my kids at Orange. So we make the journey and we make sure that Tim Porter has what he wants, because when there's a situation where you break an 18-game losing streak, we're right there to promote. Nobody else is. I think it's easy to get carried away and forget about what it was like 7 years ago, right? When everybody was fighting for the front page of the Vindicator and the Morning Journal and the Trib, right? Everybody's fighting for that. You don't have to fight anymore. You have your own channels right here at YSN. The competitive balance is now the power rankings, okay? And I get it, but it's not up to us. We took it out of our hands. We're trying to make this as absolutely crystal clear and precise as possible. It's X times Y equals Z. That's what we're trying to do. So when we do these power rankings, as you're going to see here in a minute, sometimes the first week doesn't look real great for your team. The biggest example I can tell you is South Range is low on the totem pole here in week 1. But just as they are in the Division 5 rankings, right? They played a Division 7 opponent. Now, why do they play a Division 7 opponent? I encourage this. I love this because it's their arch rival. It's the school that has the biggest rivalry. It's South Range and Springfield. You can't take that off the schedule just because you might lose a couple points here or there. South Range, for the exception of JFK, in week 3, plays up or at Division 5 level with everybody. They're not worried about being on the power rankings on YSN. I can promise you that. And most of these teams aren't. But there's a lot of people saying, oh, you're ridiculous. You're crazy. You're crazy. South Range is not the 24th best team. Right? According to the points right now, they are. But like I said earlier in the broadcast, if they beat Green, whose opponent that is in a higher division, I believe, through the roof, they go up. It all shakes out. It all sorts itself out in the wash, folks. So let's take a look at those power rankings and see exactly what I'm talking about when I feel like I'm a crazy man that we just had this conversation. So here we go. The YSN power rankings right here. Top 25. Austintown Fitch sitting on the perch, looking down at everybody else. Archbishop Hoban, number 2. Now listen, take nothing away from those top 2 teams that did absolute damage. Hoban beat the state champion from Kentucky like it owed them money. It was incredible. It was unbelievable. Like Hoban beat them up like they bullied their sister. It was something to watch. To quote Steve Leslie, it was like watching a group of grown men go to work. And I get that same feeling when that number 1 team, Austintown Fitch, was taking on Euclid. Folks, this could be a matchup down the road that is must-see on the network. Keep your eye on those two as this thing continues to fly. And again, the job doesn't get any easier for either one of those teams as Central Valley comes to town in Austintown. And Fitch has their hands full again. But ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you what. Central Valley's not coming there licking their chops. I can tell you that right now. Lakeside coming in at number 3 after a big win. Niles. I was reading those comments. There's a lot of people saying Niles is a different looking team this year. Antoine Gardner is a dude. He is a dude, and he's got them believing here this year for Niles McKinley. Ursuline slides in at 5 with a big win their first week over Steubenville. Canfield at number 6. Cardinal Mooney at number 7 with a win. East Liverpool with an emphatic win, 50-0. Gets them the 8th spot. Girard comes in at 9. Hubbard in at 10 after a win over East. Poland in at 11. Struthers is at 12. You've got Edgewood with a big decisive win at 13. Orange at 14 makes the list. 15 is Warren JFK. Conneaut in at 16. 17 is Garrettsville Garfield, followed by Lakeview at 18. Mineral Ridge with a win over East Palestine. Or excuse me, Mineral Ridge with a win over, help me out here, who was it? Mineral Ridge? That was Pymatuning Valley, my apologies. PV, they get a win there, and they are in the 19 slot. At the 20 position, Newton Falls, who got the win over East Palestine. United with a big win at 21. Valley Christian with a win over Crestview at 22. Louisville with the last-second walk-off winner over Columbiana at 23. South Range at 24 with a decisive victory over Springfield. And Lisbon, who got a big win against Wyndham, slides in at 25. So there you have it, the top 25 rankings here on your sports network. And yeah, I mean, listen, we don't listen, I'm not allowed to say that. I've been told, David, by a lot of people not to say Pie Valley. Like they come at, no, you can't say that. You can say PV, which is good, right? But you can't say Pie Valley. It's the same thing as East Palestine. When people call it East Palestine, good night. Like you could get your teeth knocked out. It's that aggressiveness, which is kind of silly, but I get it. Like I can't say that I don't understand it because I do. So say PV if you don't want any trouble. And I mean this with all the respect in the world from people from Pymatuning Valley. Like I get it. I understand it. You don't have to tell me twice. It's just hard to break that habit. So bear with us. We'll make it right. And David, watch your back. Watch your back because it's coming. Yeah, I mean, when you talk about power rankings, obviously you don't get into power rankings like you do to sell ice cream, right? You're not trying to make everybody happy. You're trying to create a conversation, and you're trying to create basically conflict. You're trying to create that somebody's better than somebody, and I get it. I do. But I'm telling you, getting uppity over week one power rankings after some teams are playing up, some teams are playing down, some teams didn't win. You know what I mean? I can tell you that if Springfield's probably going to make an appearance on this list at some point. There's teams that will probably only be on this list for a week. And I'm not going to point anybody out. I'm not that crazy, but you look at there's some teams that you're used to seeing that aren't on that list that could be. And I think Crestview is one of them. I think Crestview could have a really good year this year, depending on what they do. We'll see. I think there's teams that are going to be on this list all year long. I think, Hoban could be one of those teams, but you're going to see this list probably fluctuate from week to week based on who a team is playing. If you load up your schedule and you win, you're probably going to go up. Hoban and Fitch could be flip-flopping 1 and 2 based on who they play and how many points and secondary points are brought to the table. So keep that in mind. It's not made to hurt anybody or to piss anybody off or to offend anybody. It's not trash. Like, that's the funny thing. It's like the trash emoji, right? Like people, oh, this is trash. The system's broken. No. So Idle does it, right? And it's Division 1, Division 2, all the way through 7. We take all 7 of those. We take our teams and we just put them in a big old bowl and a salad. And we mix them up and we see what comes out, right? So you're going to have – there's a possibility that a Division 7 team is going to be listed over a Division 1 team, right? In a world full of like Rocky Balboa versus Mason the Line Dixon, that doesn't mean that if they play them, right, that we're going to see a complete like butt kicking or even a victory. It's just saying, hypothetically, this team is taking care of their business more than the other teams based on science and a point spread. Or not point spread, points in general. Point spread's bad in high school. Bad. bad. But yeah, that's what it boils down to. So everybody that's getting crazy over these power rankings, relax. We've got a lot more of this coming. We got 9 more weeks of this. Okay, take a chill pill. We're gonna do the Joe Dickey Electric. What's your spark? Presented by Joe Dickey Electric. Anything industrial, anything commercial, residential, anything electrical. Make sure you're heading on over to DickeyElectric.com. Please tell Eric Carlson I said hello. Today's spark is well, it's very cool because I saw a post this weekend, which was, it wasn't the intention of YSN. The intention of YSN is to be just a general media company, right? And specific to schools around. But it's always cool when you see pictures of people that are watching YSN and watching YSN from their living room, watching them from the beach, watching them from choir practice, whatever it is. But to me, it's always really cool when you see someone watching YSN while they're at another field and they're able to support their loved ones, their sons, their daughters, their wife, their spouse, whoever it be, right? But they're still consuming the content that we put out. This past week, or I guess late last week, Mark Comlang, the head coach for the Warren JFK basketball team, put a post out there, and he was at his daughter's soccer game, and he was watching JFK. This was Thursday night, and it kind of struck me as really cool. So we are incredibly grateful for the support and the belief of what we do, because it's not easy, right? And last week was incredibly stressful, and I'm not going to, boo-hoo about it or anything, but the only reason that it's stressful is because we're constantly trying to push that envelope for you. We're trying to make it better experience from our users, better experience for the student athletes, the coaches, and ultimately the community. So I want to take this opportunity to thank all of you, because it was a successful week. 120 some thousand, 195,000. That's what it was. Clicking into to YSN Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and a big kudos goes out to Nick Miller over at Synergy, who's the lead developer, and this is a passion project for him with YSN. We've got to know Nick throughout the years. And he's built a website that is, I don't want to jinx it, but it's pretty bulletproof, and he's built it from the ground up. Again, based on what we did the first 6 years, and he's taken it to the next generation. So it was a great weekend. I hope you guys had a great weekend as well, because football is back, fall sports is back, and we are your home for it, and we're excited about it. I take a lot of pride, and know Sam Torres busted his tail this weekend to make sure that everybody had stories out, and Anthony's on the road and on vacation, and he makes his way back today. And I think everybody's excited. I think everybody's excited about what we have going on, and there's a good reason for it. It's important to everybody, and I think that's why it's so cool to me to watch it, because at one point it was just me and Brian, or Brian and I. My wife's going to kill me. We were talking about how cool this would be if something like this existed, and then you fast forward 7 years and here it is. And if complaining about power rankings is the biggest problem that I face in my day, I think we're doing okay. And I think you are too. God bless all of you. I appreciate you tuning in to today's Power Hour. Make sure you tune in tomorrow from 3 to 4. We'll talk more. We'll try to get some interviews. We got shows tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Do not miss these at all. We've got the Boardman Spartan Show live at Double Bogies and the Bunker at 7 p.m. We have Steve Leslie is going to be right across the street at the Combine Brothers, the Poland Bulldogs Show for the first ever time. That starts at 7:30. Come support these local athletes, support these coaches, these communities, especially if you're from Boardman, if you're from Poland, or if you're just hungry, come check out the food. Great food at the Combine Brothers. great food at Double Bogies in the bunker and great atmosphere. So come and check it out. Support these kids. And, if you got a volleyball game tonight, go out and support them there as well. If not, if you're cooped up at the office or you're working like I am typically, make sure you pop on ysnlive.com. Enjoy the new website. We built it for you. God bless you. We will see you tomorrow, 3 to 4, right here on the YSN Power Hour, brought to you by Toyota of Warren. YSN, thanks.